Thank you very much, Peter. I'm presenting on the culture of wood carving at Aburi, an analysis of factors contributing to the development of the new traditional wood carving center. The outline for this presentation will be based on the etymology of Aburi, historical account of the master carvers, types of wood used by the carvers, sources of ideas of the carvers, the finishes that they use, factors leading to the growth of the carving in Aburi, and then conclusions. I'll try to be as snappy as possible on each of the issues. Aburi is located on the Equiapim Range, about 23 kilometers northeast Accra, the capital of Ghana. It is more of an undulating town with an elevation of about 800 to 1,500 feet above sea level, being one of Ghana's highest points of habitat for the people. Aburi is noted largely in Ghana for its botanical gardens, which attracts a lot of tourists and other social groups to the town. The traditional occupation of the people is mainly wood carving. Some of them are also involved in farming and then stone quarry as well. This is an undulating view of Aburi, the town we're studying at the moment. And most of the populace there are into the carving of wood. Fosu 1993 asserted that the creation of traditional arts was inspired by the ideas and thoughts common to African life. Consequently, the arts give visual meaning to those ideas. Many of those creative expressions were not controlled by the strict duplication of exactness of nature. It was the idea rather than the object purely perceived in its natural state which determined the visual meaning of the function of the work that they produce. Thus, a piece of art was issued from deeper motives than the inspiration of the moment. Wood carving at Aburi, like most Akan areas in Ghana, owe its origin to religious functions. Here, some forms were created to serve as dwelling places for various spirits, which they worshipped. Stools were also carved for the ancestors as their abode. Social functions also contributed to the creation of wood carvings at Aburi. And the class of persons would be defined by the kind of stools that the individual sits on, his staff that he holds or mace, the bowls that he uses, usually wooden bowls, and other artifacts which the previous presenter also enumerated a few of them. Serious wood carving started in Aburi about the early 1970s, when one individual who was called Jechi from the eastern part of Ghana and a group of Muslim teachers came to the center to do missionary work. And Jechi, who was also a carver, got attracted by the scenery where, because they were doing road construction, trees had been felled on the waysides. So Jechi decided to take advantage of the trees which had fallen and started carving. After a while, he took ill, and when one native, who was a woman, helped him to regain his strength, the lady begged on Jechi to teach her two sons, how to do the carving activity, since she found it very interesting. He therefore trained them without a fee, and these young men were the people who started the business of wood carving at Aburi. But unfortunately, these young men were sacked from the places where they were dwelling, their houses. They were ejected because the people who found them doing the carving said that these figures were associated with strange beliefs, evil beliefs, and therefore they feel that keeping them there will bring ill luck to the house and other nearby tenants. They did not understand why young men who should be going to school will engage themselves in wood carving and that kind of occupation, so they were driven out of their house in around 1974. This is not to say that there were no other people carving in wood, but the establishment of the Aburi wooden carving especially was centered around these men which we are talking about. Somehow they managed to survive and eventually relocated at the roadsides of the Aburi township, where a lot of tourists got attracted to their unique skills. There has been a dramatic increase of master carvers at Aburi. The town within these 2 decades since its existence, in the 1987 to 1990, they had barely 35 master carvers and were increased to 120 by 1998. The master carvers since 2006 and now have increased dramatically, ranging from 300 to more, with about 250 of them owning shops to display their own works. The other shops are owned by traders who were not carvers, but commissioned wood carvers to work for them. Even these shops have about 2 or 5 carvers who helped as owners. In other words, beside the master carvers, there were several other carvers who helped in the job that they do there. Though the population of the people who worked at the center is about 2,600, it is only about 20% who are carvers. The rest are apprentices and shop owners who most of the time are seen doing sandpapering of the wooden products and giving finishes to the work. About half of the shops have at least a woman as a shop attendant. And it was exciting during my study to find out that they had 3 women also involved in the carving activity. I said exciting because in their indigenous practice, it was a taboo for women to be involved in the carving activity. And so we see a development here because of education, people daring into the carving activity. The rest of the women who were found there were known to be wives of the carvers who were also there to sell works whilst their men, their husbands, were doing the carving. And children of the carvers were also there to earn monies, and some of them were also trained as apprentices of the wood carving activity. Wood, which is the primary material for the carvers at Aburi, is not abundant, unfortunately, there. They have to travel to a distance to get them. They travel to the lower part of the eastern region in order to fetch wood. And currently, there is prohibition on the indiscriminate falling of trees in Aburi. Therefore, one has to travel quite far to be able to fall one tree in order to produce the work. That tells the populace the need to ensure perpetuation of the material that they use, and therefore the need for tree planting. So the nearness of material is a factor in locating an industry. Unfortunately, currently, for Aburi, the nearness of material to location is no longer the issue here. The commonest wood which is used are outlined on the slide. We have the local names and then other botanical names. There's a wood which they call osese in the local language, Holara hina floribunda. They have the Nyamedua and the rest of the woods which have been outlined there. And during the study, I noticed that the Sese, the Holarina floribunda, is the most used and suitable to most of the carvers who were involved in the wood carving, and because they found it easy carving it and manipulating it with the finishes. There are, however, some bylaws among the carvers as to the use of such woods. They claim that it rots or decay with time, and it nearly spoiled their trade sometime past. There are, however, other woods like mahogany and cedar are also used, but on rare cases are such woods normally used. Sources of ideas for the carvers. The wood carvers get ideas from different traditional sources as well as neo-traditional sources. Neo-traditional here referring to sources which are not typically the Ghanaian way of carving, but somehow acculturated by tourist interest. So they get their ideas from old works from all over Africa, ranging from mask, which the previous speaker showed us slides about, and other forms which are created for traditional rituals in the past. The Aburi Industrial Center has its own style and techniques of producing their carvings. Indeed, the early carvers at the center said that in the 1970s to the 80s, they were carving combs, bowls, masks and drums, and similar works of arts, and other works which were commissioned typically by their counterparts who were their clients from Mosi and from the Hausa descents. And they had no specific style attributed to them, especially the neo-traditional ones. However, in the early 1990s, they obtained a new style which was quite different from their traditional carvings. And these works were of the nature as mostly they were conceptual. Slides show examples of some of the themes which were captured from their neo-traditional influences. The first slide, plate 2, is the thinking together, which in some cases it was noted to have been captured as stop thinking, which portrays a man and a woman, supposedly couples, in a thoughtful sitting posture, facing each other. And then there is another one which, not so clear there, but it has been captioned the climber. And in Akan language, they say, Ofru diapa na ipiao, which literally means that it is the one who climbs a good tree that is helped. And other household items are also produced. In other words, if you climb a bad tree, you are not helped during your bid to climb. It is a proverb that suggests that good morals are much appreciated than bad morals. Another style which is common to the carvers is what is termed as shadows. And these were rendered in round and in relief. And these forms got their name shadow from the silhouette, which is a painting technique that deals with representing forms in black, in monochrome, one color forms, without necessarily bringing out details. And they use this means to create works which are freestanding or in relief forms. The facial details of usually such works are not given natural treatment, but they are just represented in forms either exaggerated or giving some level of abstraction, non-realistic. And some of the themes which they usually work on in this silhouette, as you could see on the slide, are the unity. And the unity is the one on your plate 4. which deals with different people coming together, trying to pick up a common object, and then the other one which they call a thinking man. There were several others which were also made from such material. Another form of relief are those which depends on nature and the form of the tree for its creation. The wood normally used for such works are Fiscus clasticoides, which are plastic trees, parasitic trees that gives some interesting forms of movement in their trunks. Examples as these ones. And they produce usually relief carvings on such trees to give a very impressive effect, both depicting local culture and also depicting values associated with the people. Wood finishes which the people adapt also vary. And as we are very much previewed to, wood adapts so many types of finishes. But at Aburi, their finishes has a particular style and techniques which they employ. Previously, the wood carvers were using fire to burn the woodwork after they have carved it in order to get a very brownish effect, and then black before polishing the wax. Sometimes they were also using shoe polish and other inorganic colors to be able to do that. And for wood preservation, after carving, potassium permanganate, which gives a black coloring to the wood and prevents it from decaying, is applied. To the Akan and most Ghanaian ethnic groups, the color black is very symbolic. Therefore, they applied such finishes to the color. It symbolizes tradition, it symbolizes antiquity, symbolizes beauty, and it symbolizes history. So most of the works are given such finishes. The functions of their work are also numerous. The role that the wooden products play in Ghanaian culture cannot be overemphasized. It stretches from religious, social, political, historical, and therapeutic. There are several factors which have led to the growth of the wood carving industry, and that factors could be traced from political through to education and then to other factors such as non-governmental organizations coming in to express interest to support them, either for their interest in the wood itself or in the products, which is the artifacts. In conclusion, I should say that the people of Aburi in Ghana have very impressive wood carving activity, and they are really making good use of wood. Given the required attention, the center will undoubtedly flourish in its usage of wood for artifacts. Thank you very much.